what I'm calling rough drafts. And thanks to one of our patrons for the suggestion. I want to talk about venting. I have been having a hard time with something, and I have been fortunate enough to have people that I can talk to. But before I do that, let me give some context on what it is that I'm trying to hopefully get to the point about. At work, I have a peer group. This peer group was a suggestion by one of my mentors to put together. Actually, what I called it was a mastermind group. This was a group of my peers. We met, there was about five of us, maybe six. We met once a week to discuss different topics. And mainly, some of it was around work and how we deal with certain situations at work. It was a group of peers that uh, gave suggestions and tips and tricks, helped with like policies, um, progressive discipline, these kinds of things, and encouragement, right? And then at some point we would stop and it'd be like, okay, so what are we going to do? And so we'd help each other try to solve an issue if there was an issue with them when it came to work or even life. That's how close we became. At some point, one of the people in the group didn't show up a couple of times. And because we were a group of peers, one of us would reach out during the week. We would reach out to each other. How are you doing? Have a great day. Are you at work? We would meet up for lunch sometimes if we could when we had days off. And it was this kind of thing. So this person wasn't showing up and I reached out to them. I'm just a little, hey, you good? They were good. And as I asked a little bit more questions, some clarifying questions, I wondered and I asked her, is there a reason why you don't come to the group? And she said, no, I'm just not interested in the things that y'all are talking about. It's not interesting to me. And I said, okay, because I totally understand that. Not everything's going to be for everybody. So I suggested that she pick a topic. Or if something was she needed to deal with, she bring it up and we could discuss. And she said, oh, okay, fine. And the week passed and the day came for us to all meet and she didn't show up. Another person reached out to her and asked like the same questions, just check in and see what was going on. She said she was going to come and she didn't. In between that, we were all like reaching out to try to find out what was happening, if it was something that we were doing or whatever. But she kept saying, no, we're just not talking about topics that she's interested in. But then we threw it back to her. She never came up with a topic. I'm saying all of that to say we finally figured out, she finally came clean and didn't have a topic, but she was there for the venting. And that's the part that she liked. She liked the venting part. I think that when people are going through a thing, the venting part is like the juicy part, right? Because maybe got to be, it may be finger pointing and vindication and all of these kinds of things at first, but there has to come a point in time where the venting stops, right? And it's just this, it can't become this vicious cycle of saying the same shit over and over and living in it. I've learned going through my break, when I took my break earlier this month, I learned that because a lot of things was happening around me or to me, there were times I wanted to vent. And there were times where people called me and was like, no, let's talk. It was encouraging, although it did bring up very strong feeling. My feelings were hurt all over again. You know what I'm saying? It just brings up all of that stuff again. But it was good because at some point I didn't have to vent anymore. It was still on my mind, but I didn't have to keep living in it. And here's the thing. I didn't have to keep living in it until something poked me. And then it brought back all of this other stuff. What happened in that moment when someone poked me, I immediately felt attacked and hurt. And I immediately started crying. I know you're thinking, what, Farina, you cry? Yes, I cry. I'm human. I have feelings. But instead of me picking up the phone to dump this on someone, for them to do the labor of what was going on with me, I got up. I went to my white table, which was my meditation table. I focused myself. I took some deep breath. I lit some sage. I walked and paced in my apartment. I got a little bit of whiskey and sipped some whiskey. And I regulated myself. I regulated myself because for me, even though it was very hurtful, that's what I think I should do as an adult. I think that I should regulate my emotions and regulate my feelings. I can't be flying off the handle just because. Because when you do that, there's casualties to that. And those casualties are just that, casualties. I did that and I calmed down and kept doing my deep breathing. As I said, I cleansed my space with some sage. And I sat down when I finally got really calm. I sat down and I looked at a movie. That's what I did. Then someone called me and I picked up the phone and I said, hey, we're like doing pleasantries. And the person said, your voice sounds different. And I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm just going through a little something and this and the third. And the first thing they said is, do you want to talk about it? And I said, no, I don't want to talk about it. And we talked about something else. And it was wonderful, right? It was wonderful to have someone ask, do you want to talk about it? What can I do for you? And when I told them what they can do for me, they were like, all right, fine. Later on, I did call a friend and ask them, can I talk to you about something? Do you have the capacity to listen to me talk about this bullshit? They said yes, but they could only be on the phone for half an hour. And I could respect that, right? I got this much time. I love you, but I got this much time. And I briefly talked about what was going on. And they said, are you okay? And they said, no, yes, I'm fine. But I just wanted to know because sometimes I need to check with people who are going to seriously, sincerely tell me if I'm wrong and why I'm wrong. If I'm wrong and why I'm wrong. Because sometimes I don't know. Maybe I did something that I don't know. But if you don't tell me, then I just don't know. Anyway, so my point is that with both of those examples, venting is great because you get to get the feelings out and emotions out and blah, 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 blah. You get to throw up all the stuff. But afterwards, then what? What happens after that? What actions are we taking after that? Are we moving on to correct an issue, take action with an issue, whether it's understanding where we can do better and then do better? Or are we just going to stay in that muck and that mire? I had a choice. I could have stayed in the muck and the mire, but instead I decided to breathe through it and regulate myself and process my feelings. And it's not easy because I'm still in the process of doing all of those things. This is always going to be a work in progress. But it is something that I feel as an adult or as for me, as the person I am, I want to do those things. And it's difficult. Not everybody has the capacity to do that. But if you're just venting and venting, then it becomes like, and not doing any action, it becomes like everybody is swimming in a pool of trauma. You know what I'm saying? It's let's go into the trauma pool. And it becomes that. If you find yourself in that kind of situation, how do you handle it? How do you deal with it? Do you have tools? Let's share some tools. Like, share some tools on how we deal with when we're venting, when the venting stops. Or if someone is venting to you, when do you make them stop? Because people will vent to you and dump on you and dump on you. And you're like this dumping pool. And that takes a lot of energy from you as well. And that's putting something on you. You're doing this labor. So if you have tools, let me know what the tools are that you used. If you are the recipient of someone dumping on you, let me know how you handle letting them know that is not okay. Because you gotta let them know it's not okay, or else they'll keep doing it. So that's all I got for today. Until next time, this is my new series that I'm doing called Rough Draft.